how do you draw a shield on a face like this? Because typically speaking, like if you're drawing the ball and shield, right, from the front, it kind of looks like this. But when you are drawing faces that are tilting up, you have to draw this like triangular shape here. So this is like the jaw. That's like the bottom of the skull. That shape is really important. It's almost like the underside of the nose, right? Do you see how it kind of echoes the shape of the underside of the nose? It's not quite as tall as the underside, but you can see that the shape of the nose, of the mouth, and of the eyes echo the shape of the underside of the chin. If a neck is going into perspective, right, that same cylinder is getting smaller at the top and wider at the bottom. If you look at his neck, right, you're really going to see that cylinder shape kind of wider at the bottom and thinner at the top. And look at how wide his neck is. It's like super, super wide compared to the female here. So because she's kind of got her shoulders up and her neck muscles are flexed, this is a peculiar instance where the cylinder is kind of going in the opposite direction. And notice where the eye line is. So if you look at this line and if you analyze how, like, the distance between this upper part of her face and then the lower part of her face up to her chin area, okay? The center line, like where that connects, is still relatively in the middle, right? But because the center line is tilted so far back, it makes her eye line much higher to the top. Like if you were drawing somebody looking down, their forehead, like this distance here between the top of their head and the middle of their eye, is going to be much bigger than the bottom part of her face, right? This person doesn't really have much hair, but she's kind of wearing a wreath like around her head, right? But if she did have hair, you would not see that much at the top. So I'm just gonna make up her hair here. Like you wouldn't really see any of her hair at the top because it's so high up. So what you might do is just like draw like just a little bit of hair at the top. And then at the bottom is kind of where you would see most of it, the bottom and the sides, like this. Analyzing her eyes, right? Like if you look at her eyes, you generally have this type of shape. There's her eyeball, right? Her eyes are opening up this way, and then her iris is like doing that because the top of it is being covered by her eyelid. Okay, there's like a little corner. I kind of draw like a little C. Make a mental note that the corners of the eyes on both sides are different. So one corner looks more like a C, the other corner looks more like a Y. If you look at her mouth, right, whenever you're drawing a shape that's like round, you can divide it up into angles. So you could say, okay, if you're more geometrically inclined, you can say, okay, the middle part here, right, the middle part here is obviously receiving the most light, and then it starts to turn. So you can kind of group the mouth and work geometrically if that helps you. Because then you can also do that with the face, right? You could say, okay, here's one plane of the face. You can see that the middle plane has more light than the sides, right? And if you wanted to draw the face as a geometric shape, right? That helps some people a lot, like just kind of like breaking it down into geometric shapes. If you're ever in a situation like this where you want to find how to find the circle of his skull, the first thing I'm going to do is I can see a little bit of that circle, right? So if I can see a little bit of that circle, then I kind of know how big it is. as soon as a head is tilted down, it's very, like, it messes up all of your preconceptions about where the nose aligns on this circle. We went over eyes from the side, eyes from 3/4 view, but we never talked about how to draw eyes looking down. Basically, like, it curves this way, right? It kind of follows the curve of the eye. And if you want to draw somebody with an open eye, you would draw both of these lines looking down like that, right? And then wherever the iris is would be here. All right, so that would be an eyeball looking down. And then if you were to draw eyelashes, you figure out where the middle of the eye is. So let's say the middle is there, and then you know to put fuller lashes towards the end, and then like go lighter as you move into the other side. His mouth and his chin are a little bit tricky because we can't really see too much of it. If you notice, the mouth will also echo the shape of the eye, right? So when somebody's looking down, their eyes, their nose, and their mouth all echo the same curve. Even if somebody is crying or sad, if they're looking down, their mouth is still turned up. Like, it doesn't matter, because here it looks like they're smiling, but if you want them to be angry, you turn the corners of the mouth down and you do this, right? Give them like furrowed eyebrows, which still follows this shape, right? But the mouth has to be curving up. If it's not curving up, it's gonna mess with your perspective. One of the most helpful things that I find is in any angle of the head, the mouth, nose, and eyes will all sort of have the same kind of shape. Like, they're slightly different, right? Because she's got a pointier nose, and her eye, the triangle of her eyes are slightly different, and you can't really see the other one, but the other one, if you could see behind her nose, it would kind of be like this, right? So they all kind of have the same shape. Sometimes the ear starts in between the line of the eyes and the eyebrows. Like, sometimes it goes up to the eyebrows. So I'm gonna guess that her ear is like here. So your sideburns give you a clue. You kind of need to know where all the landmarks are so that you're able to figure out the structure of the head. And once you figure out the structure of the head, your drawings will be so much better, so much more proportional, and much more impressive. Usually when you're drawing eyebrows, it peaks about 2/3 of the way. So let's say this is an eyebrow. You can kind of see it's about 2/3 towards the outside, and that's where the peak is. The peak is important because it helps you with your shading. Now, see where the hairs start to change direction is right at that peak. So then at the other side of the eyebrows, they start to go this way. And the hair changes direction right at around the peak area. You can look at your own eyebrows too. They do that. It's really funny. And so that's just like a subtle realistic drawing tip, is when you shade eyebrows, notice where they start to change direction.